Andrew arrested over ties to Epstein as the royals are rocked again. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Deeper than the headlines.
The answers you need to know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
It's a not-so-happy birthday for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. The former Prince and Duke of York and the King's younger brother was arrested today on his 66th birthday, taken into custody on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The misconduct is believed to be over allegations that he shared confidential material with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The disgraced royal used to be a trade envoy for the UK government. It's alleged that he forwarded sensitive government reports to Epstein. Those allegations are separate from the other allegations that Andrew had sexual encounters with underage victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Sama Abdulaziz of CNN has more.
It has been a tumultuous few months, of course, for former Prince Andrew. He has been pushed out of the monarch's estate, essentially shoved into Sandringham, where he has lost all of his royal titles as well since last year, stripped of those royal titles by his brother King Charles. An anti-monarchy group filed a complaint against him after the most recent trove of documents was released, accusing him of violating his role as a trade envoy for the UK by sending secrets, by sending state information, by sending details of economic packages that Britain was working on to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has denied any wrongdoing, but these are absolutely extraordinary events for someone of this title, someone of this status, the brother of King Charles, to right now be arrested. Again, we are waiting for more information, but we also know that King Charles had previously said he is willing to work with the police if it comes to that, and it has clearly come to that moment.
In a statement, the king said the law must take its course and that he'll be making no further comment. Rhiannon Mills is an expert on the royal family and has more on what the police are saying right now.
If we go through their statement, because they say some very interesting and important points, they say they've arrested a man in his 60s from Norfolk on suspicion of misconduct in public office and are carrying out searches at addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk. They also say that that man remains in police custody at this time. Now, it's worth saying that Thames Valley Police are not specifically naming this man as per national guidance, and also sending out a really important warning in terms of all of the discussion and the reporting around this, that we have to be really careful to avoid anything that may be seen to be in contempt of court. They want to make sure that they have the best possible chance in terms of their ongoing investigations. Now, we understand that the man that has been arrested is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Of course, earlier this month, in a rather surprising move, certainly earlier than some of us thought, he moved from his Royal Lodge home on the Windsor estate, and that is why Thames Valley Police are looking into these allegations. And he moved out to Norfolk instead. So the police officers, we understand, went to Wood Farm, which is the temporary residence that he's currently living in, while they refurbish Marsh Farm, which isn't far from there, but needs more work in terms of security. And also we know that he marks his 66th birthday today.
The late Virginia Giuffre always claimed that Andrew had sex with her when she was just 17 and that she was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. Giuffre took her own life last April. Andrew has always denied that, such as during his infamous Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis back in 2019.
She was very specific about that night. She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have bath, possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, and that was yes, I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at. and I simply, it was almost impossible for me to sweat. And it's only because I have done a number of things in the recent past that I'm starting to be able to do that again. So I'm afraid to say that there's a medical condition that says that I didn't do it, so therefore.
Is it possible that you met Virginia Roberts, dined with her, danced with her in Tramp, had sex with her on another date?
No.
Andrew settled a civil case without admitting any guilt. In a statement today, her siblings said that their broken hearts have been lifted. And as well, they said he was never a prince. Edward, the youngest brother of the king, is still a prince. He is the Duke of Edinburgh. He was speaking recently at a summit in Dubai when he was asked by a moderator about his brother's links to Jeffrey Epstein.
Clearly very difficult, and I know you've put in various plans in place to move the institution forward, but how are you coping with that?
Well, with the best will in the world, I'm not sure this is the audience that is probably the least bit interested in that. So they all came here to listen to about education solving the future. But no, I think it's all really important always to remember the victims. And who are the victims in all this?
There have been calls for Andrew to testify before the U.S. Congress about his connection to Jeffrey Epstein. There's no indication that is going to happen. But the Clintons will testify. Hillary Clinton recently told an interview she thinks Andrew should also testify.
They are accused and in both cases were convicted of horrific crimes against girls and women. That should be the focus. And we are more than happy to say what we know, which is very limited and totally unrelated to their behavior or their crimes. And we want to do it in public because let's make this transparent.
There are calls for another individual who denies wrongdoing to go before Congress on this matter. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew. Do you think he should testify?
I think everybody should testify.
Andrew stepped back from official royal duties in 2019. He has since been stripped of all of his royal and military titles. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. And this is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
With my friend on the right side of things, Michael Taube is a columnist for the National Post, Troy Media, and Looney Politics. Michael was a speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Welcome back.
Thanks very much, Rob. Hope you're having a good day today.
Well, very busy. What do you think of the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor on his birthday?
Yeah, that's what's actually shocking as well. And I'm glad you reminded me and obviously the listeners on that because I had forgot it was his birthday. But yeah, I mean, there's no precedent for this in the history of the royal family in the UK. And, you know, it's an astonishing moment. As someone pointed out, and I think properly, that it started with him being involved, you know, or allegedly involved in Jeffrey Epstein's, you know, sex ring or pedophilia and various other things. There were a lot of accusations around that swirled around him. He had that terrible interview where he basically just botched everything up and, you know, claiming, among other things, that he didn't sweat. He didn't have this. He had a glandular condition that prevented him from this. I mean, it was so preposterous. I mean, any PR person or comms person would have told him not to go in front of the camera if he was going to do something like that, although you're obviously free to ignore it. But it's gone from that to this current arrest, which deals with misconduct in public office, which we'll talk about, which obviously means that it is now switched from just, you know, sex and proclivities to something that may actually involve, you know, having possibly or allegedly sharing information and trade secrets.
What do you think about the actions of King Charles here? He's essentially cast his brother adrift, almost as if he's saying you're on your own. It's extraordinary.
He most certainly did. He basically said that the law has to, you know, I'm just paraphrasing, but the law has to determine for itself the legitimacy of this case, and that the royal family will not be directly involved in it. And I believe it also said they have no further comments, which makes sense because obviously there's an investigation going on. It's an astonishing moment as well. Now, to be fair, Andrew had been already cast aside from the royal family. He's no longer a member of the royal family, at least in terms of working conditions, employment, and otherwise. But yeah, I mean, this is basically, there's no lifeline whatsoever. I think that's pretty clear in the press release that was put out today, that basically Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is on his own.
Could you actually see him? I mean, we're talking about a former member of the royal family. Well, he's still a member of the royal family with no royal duties or titles. But
no title.
Could you actually see him going to prison?
It's not impossible. I mean, I doubt it. I mean, it's possible that he could get, at the end of all this, some sort of a suspended sentence, which means that he would have a criminal record for the rest of his life. That is a possibility. But I mean, again, it depends what's there. If there's going to be such an arrest made, especially with a high-profile figure like Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, or the former Prince Andrew, if you wish, there has to be a lot there to actually move forward, because not only is it humiliating, obviously, for the royal family and for Andrew himself, it would be very humiliating if this arrest amounted to nothing. In fact, if anything, Rob, I think this is probably a test case for the Epstein files and a lot of these allegations, that if someone like Andrew, cannot be, isn't free and clear and ultimately goes to prison, which, still has to be determined, that would change everything for a lot of people in the millions and millions of Epstein files, some of which have been read, but some of which they're still going through to this day.
I just wonder what is ahead for him. Does he live out his life on this, part of this estate? I guess the ramshackle, if there is such a thing, part of this estate. Or maybe, I wonder, because it's happened before. Edward VIII, after he abdicated, he was basically exiled out of the UK.
Correct.
After that, when he married Wallace Simpson. I just wonder, maybe he's exiled. Maybe he goes and lives in exile or something. It's just so extraordinary. I just don't, what happens?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, I don't think there's anything such as a ramshackle associated with this family, but I know what you're saying. Look, I think his reputation has been ruined. It was ruined before, but now it's completely ruined. His family wants nothing more to do with him. I don't even think that whatever they determine with this case is probably going to change much of that. His public image is tarnished for life. There is really no coming back, no matter what happens. Could he live in exile? Could he disappear? It's possible. And could the royal family just decide that the quote unquote ramshackle that you pointed out, it can no longer be his and that he has no right to it? Well, in reality, anything is possible.
I do wonder if it will give rise, because there are what I would call Republicans in Canada who always want to dump the monarchy, and whether this renews those calls. What do you see there?
Wouldn't be shocked if it did, but at the same time, you have to be realistic. The royal family dumped Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, or the former Prince Andrew. They turfed him out. They realized there was something there, and they got rid of him. Yes, I know people will go back and say, well, the earlier examples and some of the money that was exchanged and some of the things with, the woman who passed away recently or committed suicide, Virginia, I always forget her last name.
Jeffrey,
Jeffrey. So, yeah. I mean, but so it'll be there, but I don't think it'll go much of anywhere.
Okay. When we come back, developments in this country, another floor crossing, another MP bolts from the Conservatives to the Liberals. What does it mean for the Conservative Party? What does it mean for Mr. Poilievre? When we come back with Michael Taube. With us every Thursday on Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
Back with Michael Taube, one of our weekly contributors here on our show. He's a writer for the National Post, Troy Media, Looney Politics, speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Another floor crossing, Michael, from the Conservatives to the Liberals. Matt Genereux, Edmonton area member of Parliament. What do you think of it?
Well, this had been rumored last November, as you may remember, when the whole thing with Mr. D'Entremont, who was the first one to actually cross the floor before Michael Ma followed him. Genereux's name was actually mentioned at the time. It has since been revealed that Matt Genereux and Prime Minister Mark Carney did have a couple of conversations. Genereux, though, announced last November with a public release, which was circulated pretty widely, that he actually was going to retire from the House of Commons and spend more time with his family, which is sadly a line that we're hearing far too often in this country, and politicians are walking away from that line. Take with that what you will. So basically, no one really thought much about it, but clearly things were, going on behind the scenes, evidently, because this wasn't just something where you snap your fingers. And he decided, at a time when, quite frankly, if he had made this decision earlier, or if he had, no one knows exactly what he's thinking. He's the only one who can obviously tell us. There were certainly times where it would have had greater impact, but nevertheless, when he did it yesterday, it was kind of shocking. It was shocking because this was a person who's only in his 40s, but has been a lifelong conservative. Not only has he been a conservative MP in Edmonton or the Edmonton area for over 10 years, before he even represented the riding of what's called Edmonton Riverbend, he actually was an Alberta PC MLA. That's in the province of Alberta. So he's been a conservative a very long time in his short life. So as people have pointed out, and they're quite right, who know him, it is kind of shocking that he had this sudden epiphany after so many years of being conservative, both provincially and federally.
Do you think, because Pierre Poilievre just received 87% support at his convention in Calgary, do you think this raises questions again about his leadership of the Conservative Party?
No, only in the sense that, it's such a resounding win that no. It's not going to lead to anything. There's nothing there's nothing anyone can do. Pierre Poilievre at this stage cannot be forced off his perch. Yes, I guess if there was a mutiny within the party and they decided to have a vote about his leadership, as what happened to Aaron O'Toole years ago, I guess is possible. But when you have 87.4% support from grassroots party members, and we can have obviously a huge discussion of what that array represents, that's an extremely solid number. You would have to have huge justification for this, and floor crossers aren't going to necessarily do it.
Okay, very interesting. We'll see what comes of it. Thank you for your time today. Great to get caught up. Yeah, bye-bye. That's Michael Taube. He's with us every week, columnist with the National Post, Troy Media, and Loonie Politics, speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Coming up next, our Newsday panel on Thursdays, it's Focus Nova Scotia. Lots to talk about today. The Nova Scotia legislature will soon be back in action, and meantime, taxpayers in the Halifax Regional Municipality are staring down a massive double-digit property tax increase. Something we continue to cover here on this show. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Time for our Newsday panel. On Thursdays, it's Focus Nova Scotia, and joining us once more today, Clinton Desveaux, columnist, political commentator. Welcome back, Clinton. Good to hear from you today.
Thank you for having me, Rob, and good afternoon, Halifax.
Lisa Blackburn back with us as well, former Halifax City Councillor, NDP candidate, no stranger to our listeners in Halifax. How are you? Welcome back.
Hey, doing great. Thank you so much for having us back.
So Halifax is staring at about an 11% property tax increase. I want to get right back into this today. I was looking up, how does that compare to the property tax increases in other big cities? Okay. Montreal, 5.4%. Toronto, 2.2%, but it's an election year for all the Ontario municipalities. So in previous years in Toronto, Mayor Chow has passed enormous property tax increases. Remarkably, this year, it's only 2.2%. Calgary, 1.6, Ottawa 3.75, Edmonton 6.9, Winnipeg 3.5, Hamilton 4.25, Kitchener 2.2%, Quebec City 1.9%, Halifax 11%. It is very much an outlier in proposing such a massive increase in property taxes. I would call it outrageous. Clinton, what's the plan to deal with it, though?
Well, that's a great question, Rob. We're talking double-digit increases. So Halifax is clearly trying to chase down Mayor Chow in Toronto. And in the process of doing that is going to incredibly anger Haligonians all over the city. You know, we're living in a financial crisis where the cost of living is rising. And in the face of that, municipal taxpayers on both sides of the harbor, whether they're urban or suburb or in the city core, are going to face some huge expenses. So let's hope that City Council orders a review of existing government contracts and existing government spending initiatives, and let's try and rein some of that in.
Lisa, what do you think?
Well, not only is this an outlier to other Canadian cities, this is an outlier to other tax increases in HRM in the past years. I mean, they've been sort of bumping along in the 5.2, 6.3, 5.9%. That's what it's been the last 3 years. So this 10% is absolutely an outlier to even HRM's or Halifax's previous increased tax bills. Staff are telling council that this is blamed mainly on collective bargaining, compensation costs, and the mandatory provincial contributions. And that's something that has to be mentioned as well, that the tax bill that HRM collects from residents, a portion of that actually is collected on behalf of the province. So a portion of that bill that's on your property taxes actually is turned over to the province for mandatory education funding.
Oh, I see. I was going to ask you, so provincial contributions would be for services like public education, you're saying?
Correct.
Primarily public education? Any others?
Correct, yes.
Social housing, public health, things like that? Or no? Okay.
No, that's it. Yeah, that's it as far as the HRM tax burden is with. But the other piece of it too is that Halifax has seen some pretty significant population growth, but the growth hasn't really been met with the proportionate increase in new housing, and it's the new housing units that are going to generate those additional property taxes, right? So, the city is serving more residents with the growing tax base to offset it.
Okay. One of the things that I'm wondering, just based on my years covering city halls as a news reporter, I have seen this from time to time. The draft budget comes out and there's this big scary number. I mean, this is a big scary number, okay, in excess of 10%. And after many meetings and countless deliberations, the council, with the help of the staff, manages to whittle things down. And maybe it doesn't, it's not 10%. Maybe it comes in at something like 7.9. And after staring at 10 or 11, the council can then present it to their residents. Well, look at all the heavy lifting that we have done, and now it's only 7.9. Let's everybody give ourselves a wide round of applause. Could you see that unfolding, Lisa? What do you think?
Well, I think we see it unfolding because the municipal order of government is the most transparent. I mean, I'm sure that process takes place at both the provincial and the federal level. For example, the provincial budget here in Nova Scotia is going to be tabled on Monday. You don't think that they've gone through that process where they were facing a huge, scary number and they've whittled it down to something a little more palatable? I'm sure that's happened, but at the municipal level, all of this work is done out in public, in the open. So, I think that we see the process unfold as it should. Staff come at us with a huge number, and council and staff work at it to whittle it down. If they wanted to score political points, then just do away with an increase altogether. And but I truly believe that process follows through in other orders of government. It's just because the municipal level, it's open and public, and folks can go and attend those meetings, unlike provincial and federal.
What do you see happening, Clinton? What do you see happening?
Yes.
With this
so
number?
What I would say, Rob, is that, for residents in Halifax, the bar of expectations is so low with all of this municipal madness going on, with double-digit increases, that they're going to turn around and pat themselves on the back when they introduce an 8.5% or 9% increase. And so, that really is the problem, right? The problem are these increases, and what exactly are taxpayers getting in return for those increases? I'm not opposed to necessarily increasing a tax if there's going to be some sort of net benefit. But if it's purely a spending exercise with no net benefits, then we have to ask ourselves, at what point do we say enough is enough?
Okay, we'll be right back. Focus Nova Scotia today. When we come back, Lisa pointed this out already. I want to probe it a little bit more with the Nova Scotia legislature returning to business on Monday of next week. As I recall, the fall session didn't last very long. What was it, about 2 weeks or so? We'll be right back. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Focus Nova Scotia today. On Now You Know, Clinton Desveaux back with us, columnist, political commentator, Lisa Blackburn, former Halifax City Councillor, NDP candidate, sometimes radio host. Remember a couple of weeks ago when we were all together and we were all jealous of Calgary's weather and we were saying, hey, send that here. It's going to be 16 degrees. Yeah, it's minus 24 there now. So keep it there. Keep your weather there.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, Lisa, you mentioned this. I'd like to know more. The legislature's back. Nova Scotia legislature is back on Monday, and you find it a curious day to open for business. Why is that?
Well, it is curious because the House normally meets on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. They do meet on Mondays, but the Monday sessions don't start until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And even more curious is that it's apparently booked to go until 11:59 p.m. Monday night. Even more curious is the fact that they're going to be tabling their budget on Monday. So the legislature goes back in. They start with all the pomp and ceremony to get them started. And then the first order of business on a Monday night, just before midnight, is to drop the budget. Tell me the budget is a disaster without telling me the budget is a disaster.
Because they're going to be delivering the budget in the evening?
Yeah. So there'll be no time for
questions say, will the budget? Will the budget be tabled on Monday after the 6 o'clock news is on? Lots of people watch the 6 o'clock news.
My understanding is the timing is that yes.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's convenient. All right, Clinton, what do you think of that?
Well, I tend to agree. Unfortunately, when we hear of governments talking about deficit spending, which seems to be the rage not only in Nova Scotia but right across this country, it would indicate that we're entering an era of dysfunctional deficits. Mm-hmm. And, the question becomes, why do this so late at night? And I agree. In all likelihood, it is to keep it, out of the hands of the press, to keep radio programs like this one, keep the microphones away, and hope that by the time the media has access to do some interviews, that because the news cycle is so short and so tight now, that something else will come along and take up those airwaves. And I'm hoping that's not the case. I have said for a long time that governments often have a spending problem, not necessarily a revenue problem.
Yeah. And this government in particular has a huge spending problem because they've spent $1 billion or close to it behind closed doors without cabinet approval or without legislative approval. So, we're left in a position of what happened to that money? Where did it go? And why was it not budgeted in the first place?
It's a tough time it's a tough time. If I could, Clinton, just a moment. It's a very difficult time for provincial budgets right now. The Nova Scotia, the New Brunswick budget was released this week. Like $1.3 billion is the projected budget deficit for a small province like New Brunswick. That's double what it was just a year ago. In British Columbia, it was just recently, the credit rating was downgraded, as I believe it was in Nova Scotia as well. Record deficit. The situation in British Columbia is so bad, it's the topic of the editorial in today's Globe and Mail. What a fiscal basket case it is. And in Nova Scotia, wasn't the last budget deficit already $1.4 billion? Something like that? Something like that.
That's exactly the issue, Rob. So what I was going to say, and I agree with you, is that it's one thing if you're running one-time deficits or periodic deficits specifically for some, infrastructure spending, things in order to sort of unleash the economy. But it's quite another thing when deficits become a recurring pattern where there is no long-term net benefit that stems from it. And so, examples of this in Nova Scotia, and people of Halifax are very aware of this, is, when are we going to get the Wind West offshore energy project up and running? When are we going to get hydraulic fracturing, moving along in order to help generate exports for the city of Halifax and for the province of Nova Scotia? When are we going to start developing more natural gas offshore fields? These kinds of things. If we're just running deficits for the sake of running deficits without a clear plan in place, then we have to ask ourselves, what are we getting for it?
Sure thing. Okay. When we come back, something a little on the lighter side. I do wonder what is to become of that iconic barn, the Halifax Forum. Last time I was there, I was still in high school, but I'd like to ask our commentators about the future of that building in Halifax, the Halifax Forum, when we come back. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
Here with Lisa Blackburn, Clinton Desveaux. I'm Rob Snow. It's Focus Nova Scotia today. Last time I was at the Halifax Forum was 1988. It was a great year. I went there to see Macho Man Randy Savage in the WWF. Wrestling, pro wrestling. I saw a few hockey games there over the years, though, when I was a young man. It needs a lot of work, I understand. It comes with a big price tag. Clinton, can the city afford it? What do you think?
No, I don't think the city can. I think that the Halifax Forum, this once iconic building, that goes back to 1927, has essentially become, in my eyes, what I would call the Forum failure. The city's inability to properly renovate this institutional place, the massive amount of space that it uses, 8.5 acres of land in a time of extreme housing shortages. I mean, if it was up to me, I would bulldoze the whole thing down. I would build something new, and I would put some condo towers on top of the arena in order to maximize the space. That'll make me an incredibly unpopular person for saying this, but that's my 2 cents on it.
All right. What do you think, Lisa?
I think Clinton is onto something there. I mean, back in 2014, the council initially gave the go-ahead for the redevelopment. When I hit council in 2016, I think the price tag was already up to $68 million. The price tag now to just to refurbish it, the redevelopment is $126 million. If you were to just, bulldoze it down and the main thing is the 2-pad ice rink. There's a real need for ice rinks in Halifax. And if those two were to come offline, that would be massive. But, you could build a quality 2-pad facility for $45 million. I agree with Clinton. It is a fabulous barn of memories. Everything from Duke Ellington to the Beach Boys to, Kiss had an iconic concert there in 1976. It does hold a lot of memories, but there are ways that you can preserve that. You can take that big forum sign down. You can take all the bricks from the facade and use that to make something new. Use that to pay tribute to the history
recognizes
of the
the heritage. That recognizes the heritage. You mean, Lisa?
Exactly.
Of the facility. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
But I think Clinton is absolutely.
Now, you're not that old, Lisa, that you were at that Kiss concert. You're not that old.
I was not quite. I wasn't quite that old. I didn't live in Halifax when Kiss was there, but certainly John Mellencamp played there. I went to see the Dropkick Murphys there. The Tragically Hip, I saw them there in 1991. So, certainly. But, more than that, that's where a lot of the high schools go for their graduation ceremonies because the schools don't have big enough auditoriums. So, I get it. It holds a lot of memories, but not $126 million worth.
What's a big event that you saw there, Clinton? What do you remember about the place? Clinton,
well,
you got any memories of the place?
Yes, I do. I do indeed. I would say that Halifax's home of rock and roll was once the Halifax Forum. And in fact, I saw April Wine play there. Great Canadian iconic band from Halifax.
To hear that. I'm not surprised to hear that. Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that April Wine played the Halifax Forum. They probably played the Halifax Forum once every 3 months. It was probably a standing gig for them. All right. Interesting. Macho Man Randy Savage from the Top Rope, 1988. That's what I remember. Okay. Thank you. This was a lot of fun. Again, I hope you'll come back soon.
Always a pleasure.
Sooner rather than later. Bye-bye. That's Focus Nova Scotia today. Clinton DeVoe and Lisa Blackburn. I'm Rob Snow. Talkback is coming up next. Children in organized sports. The costs of organized sports.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. Today's topic, children and organized sports. Children and organized sports. Lots of people have been all wrapped up in the Olympics. I'm one of them. I like watching the Olympics. I enjoy watching all of the athletes, the Canadian athletes, learning more about sports that I don't, quite honestly, sports I don't normally watch. And today's a big game. Don't tell me what's going on with the game today. Okay? I'm going to watch the replay after work, so please don't spoil it for me. But today, big rivalry game, of course, for gold in women's hockey between Canada and the United States. Go Canada. Go Canada. Yesterday, the nail biter. Oh, looked like it was in doubt there for a little while, didn't it? The Canadian men's hockey team, though, comes through against Czechia, becoming our nemesis, aren't they, the Czechs? But now Team Canada plays tomorrow against Finland, the spot in the gold medal game on Sunday on the line. And I've also, I've been watching skiing and speed skating. I love the short track speed skating, figure skating, curling in this part of the country. We're big fans of Rachel Holman. She's from this part of the country, from the Ottawa area. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun to see when, so many Canadian athletes, they have a chance to fulfill their lifelong dream. For some of them, their lifelong dream might be just making it to the Olympics in the first place. For others, it is to try and win a medal. But you and I all know, most of the time, behind every athlete is a parent who makes, tremendous sacrifices in both time and money. You think of all the early mornings and all of the late nights and all of those road trips to small towns and road trips to the big city, and the costs and all the bills, the new equipment for growing children, whether it's new skis or new boots or new skates or new uniforms, new gear, right, of all kinds, maybe every season, fees, to no end, fees to join teams, fees to rent ice, fees to rent recreational space, gym space, whatever it is, fees for camps, day camps, summer camps, fees for this, fees for that, costs for this, costs for that. And hitting the road and the travel and the gas and the meals and the motel rooms. And some parents take off work because their children are playing in sports. They'll use up vacation days because they just don't want to miss their child competing. Competitive sports, very expensive. It's a big commitment. Competitive hockey, I mean, it can cost a family thousands of dollars a year. Even house leagues can cost several $1,000s a year. Soccer, figure skating, gymnastics, dance, name your sport. And just like everything else these days, they are costs that just keep going up. It's not like organized sports are immune to the rising cost of living. What we want to know today, and what we want to learn more about today with your help, is what it's like these days to have a child in organized sports. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. What are the challenges? What are the challenges that you are facing as parents with children in organized sports? Any kind of sport. Hockey, soccer, baseball, apparently renewed interest in baseball, skiing, figure skating, dance, gymnastics, whatever it is. What is that like these days? What kind of commitment does that take? What is expected of you and your child? What sort of sacrifice needs to be made to make that happen for your child? And how much does it cost? And how much have those costs gone up in recent years? How much have they gone up in recent years? Have you had to rethink enrolling your children in organized sports because of the costs? Have you, or do you know someone who has maybe given up on organized sports, pursued other things for their children simply because of the cost, because it's less expensive? And here's a question for you. The more children, say, rise through the ranks of organized sports, the higher levels they achieve, the more costs can go up. If that's the case, are we facing a situation in this country where organized sports is becoming only for the affluent, the well-to-do and the well-off? Or can a child from, say, a working-class family still become an elite athlete, an Olympic athlete, a professional athlete? We'd really enjoy it today to hear from you and learn more about just what it really is like these days to try and keep your children enrolled in sports. It's good for them to be enrolled in sports. So give us a call, please. Our call-in line is 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. If you have never called before, just mention that. We'll make your call a priority. Children and organized sports, what are today's pressures? I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. It's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Today's topic, children and organized sports. What are today's pressures? What are the challenges of having children play organized sports? We want to know about the time commitments. And we want to know how much it's costing you these days. How much have those costs increased over the years? How are you making it work? Do families have to be well off today for their children to take part in organized sports? And what makes it worth it? You know, what makes it worth it? I used to love playing sports when I was young, and I count myself lucky that my parents enrolled me in all kinds of sports. I'm at a disadvantage on this topic. I'll be honest with you. I don't have any children playing organized sports, so I need your help today. I don't know what it's like these days. So I'm really counting on you to come through for us today and tell us what it's like these days to keep your children in whatever sport that they happen to be playing, that they happen to enjoy. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. 4 or 5 lines available there for you. It's an important topic. We could be facing a crisis in this country. The latest statistics are saying 1 out of 3 children in this country not playing sports can't afford it. Can't afford it. 1 out of 3 children in the country. That's not good for the children of the country. 1-833-668-2577. Give us a call. Share your perspective. Ernie is in Kitchener. Hi, Ernie.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah. Hey, Ernie.
Hello?
Good to hear from you.
Okay, but
yeah.
Good to hear from you, too. I have 2 right now in organized hockey and dance. And, they're young. Zayner's, he's 6 years old and Ray's 5. But to me, it's just insane how organized, even ice hockey. We wanted to diverse him a lot in a lot of sports and then let him pick kind of what he really wanted to do later on, give him the option. So we slowed down on the hockey at about age 4. And by taking that one little bit of a year off, how far behind he was against with his peers. And it's almost like whether they want to do it or not, you have to force him that young so he can play with his friends. There's also a big social pressure, which we wanted him to be able to play with his friends and to have that thing at school and grow up with there's a huge community aspect there as well. But the pressure on how young and how just that it's organized, a huge thing that bothers me, Rob, is the unorganized sports. Where's the kids playing ball hockey in the streets? When there's no parent supervision, we're just after school, you know what, that's what you would do. That's what I find with how organized things are getting. It's taken a lot of that away.
Oh, you think things are getting too organized?
Yeah, where kids can just go out and play and have fun. And don't get me wrong, the 6 a.m. practices when you're waking your kids up and how hard it is to combine and even get there because both parents have to work now, especially if they want to play any kind of good ice hockey, even house league. He's just playing house league, but 6 in the morning, you're waking him up. You know what I mean? Then you got to figure out how to drop him off and get to work.
Get to work, get to school, everything else, right? Sure.
Right.
Sure. So you have 2 children and they're enrolled in 2 different types of sports. Is that right?
Right. Yes. And I have 3 kids and just my wife and I are already saying, what's going to happen when the 3rd one's old enough? How are you going to be doing this? But you know what?
Sure.
When you ask the question, is it worth it? There is such a high that you get when you watch your kid and he's just smiling on the ice or he's just has that biggest smile or he gets his that goal or whatever. There's something that cannot replace that as a parent.
Right. So how much do you figure this is costing?
See, we're in a small town in a basic program, and we're paying about $600 to $700, and that is a very, very low end. There's kids in this town that are on the ice every day that just for the registration for the top level is $6,000. Never mind the tournament.
$6,000?
And they are on the ice. Don't get me wrong. That's it's the top level, and their kids are 6 and 7 years old.
Wow.
But and they're on the ice every single day.
So this $600 to $700, help me understand this. What do you get for $600 to $700?
Basically,
what does that give your child access to?
A practice a week and a game on the weekends. So basically 2 ice times a week. So that's 2 times.
Yeah. Right. And is that $600 to $700? Is that just for the registration and the ice time?
Yes, it is. Yes, Rob.
So that doesn't include the equipment and any travel that may be associated? Not that 6-year-olds are traveling across the province to compete in tournaments. But in addition, you have to get the equipment, the skates, and everything else, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So, and that's where the thing too. I can see why kids aren't playing because the affordability. And it's sad to say, but hockey's becoming. It's almost like you have to be upper middle class to be able to afford and put your kids through hockey now, and that's just a sad thing to say for this.
Well,
country.
That's one of the questions that I have. Do you have to be well off to take part in some of these organized sports these days?
You do, Rob.
Is there a class component to this that's emerging or has already emerged in the country?
Yeah, thank you for the call. I'm sure you're going to hear that from other parents, but they're going to say that too. It's sad to say it's like that. Like I said, I definitely miss where kids are just kids and they'll play that soccer game or baseball game on their own or that street ball, like that street hockey game. You just don't see it anymore. And that part of it is I feel like we're taken away from.
All right. Thank you, Ernie. 1-833-668-2577. Children and organized sports, the pressure. Cost pressures, time commitments, and the cost. Share your insight, please. Really love to hear from you today on the topic. Every single phone line available. It's Talkback on a Thursday. News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Organized sports, enrolling children in organized sports. What are the pressures today? What are the challenges that parents are facing when they enroll their children in organized sports? Give us a sense of this. Time commitments, costs, how much costs have increased over the years? How do you make it work? Organized sports becoming more of the domain of the well-off. What's your sense of things? What makes it worth it? Why do you do it? If it's such a tremendous commitment, what makes it worth it? Give us an idea. 1-833-668-2577. And have your say on Talkback today. Mike is in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Hello, Mike.
How's she going, boy?
Yeah, very good, Mike. Thank you.
If you would permit me for 1 sec, I'd just like to say that we are now into a third generation playing at the Halifax Forum. So, Lisa, anyway, I'll get off that. I had 4. They all played in Coal Harbor.
I would say, both of our panelists today thought it was time to bulldoze the Halifax Forum. They both said that. It wasn't just Lisa Blackburn. Clinton Desveaux also said it's time to bulldoze it. It's $120 million, Mike. $120 million to fix up the place?
They blow that kind of money daily. I mean, it's just, to me, that kind of money doesn't mean anything in the government anymore. Like I said, they throw that around, they give it away. Like the history is just phenomenal at that place. I've spent my whole life inside there playing hockey and concerts and wrestling and everything. It's just sad to see it go. And the thing that bothers me about it, Rob, is the fact that there's contractors out there that are just dying to get hold of that land. They shut the post office down. We used to have the Atlantic Winter Fair there every year, and yeah. Anyway, I think it's kind of a thing that's sort of set up for satisfying some contractors. But anyway,
I see.
Listen, all 4 of mine played in the Coal Harbor League, and it's more than doubled now for the registration. My grandson's 15 years old, and he's playing in U18. And the gear, of course, is unbelievable. I mean, all 4 of mine played defense. The girls, 2 girls, 2 boys. They had, really good gear. My wife and I both worked, but, trips and everything like that. It was very, very, it would have been thousands of dollars we spent yearly, like just on hockey alone. And then they played some ball and soccer. So, and it's crazy expensive, but I mean, one of your callers said it's kind of worth it when you see those moments and your kids win a championship or something like that. And I've watched many.
I guess one of the things I'm trying to get a better sense of is, are you worried at all? Should we be concerned as a country that if it's costing so much, there's this stat that I came across today, 1 in 3 children are shut out of organized sports because it's just unaffordable. Their parents can't afford it. Isn't that something that should concern us? You're talking about millions and millions of children if that's the case.
Oh, yeah. And I think the thing is, Rob, there's lots of stuff out there, and you being a Cape Bretoner, the Glace Bay Minor Hockey 50-50 runs every week. And just in the normal times, every week, your cut of that 50-50 has been steady at $55,000. It was $60,000 last week, $60,000. That's what you get. So nobody in Glace Bay in the surrounding area there pays the registration or they buy gear for the kids. And apparently Atlantic Lottery is supposed to be giving all kinds of money back to the local sports and stuff. So, I mean, there are ways to get involved. I wonder
amazing
how
what,
much of it has to do
you
with
you mentioned
video
Glace Bay, Nova Scotia. It's just amazing how they can organize and how that community is so tightly knit around, whatever their sports team is. Whether when I was growing up, it was the Colonels and the Miners and everything else. But that's a community that really rallies around its minor sports and sees value in it. You're right. It's a great point that you make. 1-833-668-2577. The latest breaking news is back. Love to get some more calls on this today. The challenges of having children involved in organized sports. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Children organized sports, asking about the pressures today. I was looking up some costs today, annual costs for a typical Canadian family to have children involved in organized sports. I mean, major financial equipment. Do these numbers sound right to you? Competitive hockey, $5,000 to $10,000 for some families. Does that sound right to you? $5,000 to $10,000? Gosh, I'd love to know more about what goes into that. House league hockey, $800 to $1,000. Soccer, now, according to my internet searching, could run anywhere from $1,200 to about $3,000 a year. $1,200 to $3,000 a year. Sound about right in the neighborhood? Too much? Is it more than that? Is it true that soccer is more affordable than other sports? What's your experience? Gymnastics, dance, and figure skating, $2,000 to $5,000 a year. $2,000 to $5,000 a year. Competitive swimming, $1,500 to $4,000 a year, all including things like registration fees, equipment, travel, training, coaching, and time off work. And according to what I was reading, baseball is actually one of the more affordable organized sports. I loved Little League, but $700 to $1,000 a year these days. And I've read recently there's been an increase in children wanting to play organized baseball because of how well the Blue Jays did last year. It's led to an increase in wanting to play baseball, which is good. Baseball's a great game to play. It's fun. I don't know if it's true that it's more affordable than other sports, but I'm curious to know your experiences at 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Who do we have up first here? Joanne? Yes, Joanne. Hi, Joanne, in Calgary. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Bob.
Yeah, hi there, Joanne.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good,
Hi.
Joanne. Thank you. Yeah. What's your opinion here? What's your experience?
Yes, my son was in competitive swimming for 10 years, and the figures are right, what you said. We were paying $5,000 a year, and towards his seventh year of competitive swimming, he was competing at the national level. Also went to the 2012 Olympic trials for London. And
oh, wow.
Yes, but my philosophy, the reason I did that was I wanted my son to be in a structured environment. I really wanted to make sure I knew where he was, and it was either I pay now or pay later. But competitive swimming was excellent for him. It taught him life skills. It taught him how to collaborate with teamwork. It taught him how to manage disappointment, set goals, put a plan in place, and celebrate recognition or accomplishments. So I have not regretted. Yeah, the amount that we paid in 10 years for him would have been a college tuition for sure for a year, but it was all worth it because I also was a competitive swimmer, and it made me into a very well-rounded individual.
$5,000 a year, my goodness gracious. And that's like more than a decade ago now, right? But your son went all the way to the Olympic trials?
That's right, exactly.
Wow, so a high achiever.
Yes, he did.
There's been a lot of dedication.
Yes, he
there,
was.
Right? I'm wondering if that dedication And that commitment, if I could, Joanne, just ask you, did you think that opened doors for him? Did it provide him opportunities, say, later in life, like maybe a scholarship or something like that to carry on with that?
Yes. Yes, he was offered a swimming scholarship with the University of Las Vegas in the United States. But after, when he went to the trials, competed for the trials, he was 0.5 of a second shy of making the Canadian team. He was 18 at the time. He's now 31. So it was a while ago. But, you know, he swam for 10 years. And I think that because, you know, he wasn't able to go to parties, he wasn't able to hang out with kids at school, because there was no time. I mean, he swam twice a day. Pool times were starting at 6 o'clock in the morning to 7:30. And then he was at the pool in the afternoon from 4:30 until 7:30. So swimming was our world for 10 years. And right now, he's earned that life skill. He's a sales manager for a very reputable boat dealership. And he's taught the skills that he learned in swimming to, you know, make him into the individual today. They all tell him, like, you're so time management. How do you do this? And he goes, well, I've had to learn to do this at a very young age. And, you know, he was happy for that. So it is well worth the investment. You know, some kids have way too much free time on their hand, and that's what can happen when you have too much free time. They can get, not saying everybody, but certain ones can hang out with the wrong crowd and get into trouble.
Sure.
I just didn't want that. I wanted to make sure I knew where he was. Yeah.
Did that take, and I don't want to be nosy, but I mean, are you well off? Were you affluent? Did you have to make, was this a big financial commitment for you, for your family?
It was.
Would you say?
Absolutely. It was, I'm not well, we were not well off. We were a middle class family working, but I knew the benefits of swimming because I was a previous swimmer. And you know what? I just thought that this would be a good idea for him. He was diagnosed with ADHD, so I needed to get him into something that would preoccupy him. And I thought, well, you know what? Competitive swimming, that's going to release a lot of the energy that, you know, an individual children have if they're diagnosed with that. And it sure paid off, you know, a lot of sacrifice from my husband and I. We had to, but I loved it. I would not regret the decision ever.
Okay. Thank you. That's a great call. Well done. Be right back. Talkback. Enrolling your children in sports. What are the pressures? What do you get out of it? What do you do? Why do you do it that makes it worth it? What's the payoff in the end? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
What are the pressures these days of having children in organized sports? What kind of time commitment does it take? The cost commitment? What makes it worth it? 1-833-668-2577. Cody is in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Hello, Cody.
Hello.
Hi, Cody. Yeah, good to hear from you.
Hi. I have two children. My daughter is in dance, and my son plays baseball, actually. Because, well, baseball, he loves it. It's been his first passion. But the cost factor definitely has been, you know, a thought. It wouldn't surprise me if that 1 in 3 kids can't afford is actually a higher number.
Oh, really?
Because it is
what makes you think that?
Well,
all right. Okay.
The time commitment is very intense. Like, my daughter right now is only in regular dance. Like, she's not competitive, but next year she wants to join competitive. That's multiple evenings a week, and we are going to have to sign an agreement saying that she will not miss dance class, even if I can't get her a drive. Like, that is not an acceptable excuse. Not having a drive, and like, you know, you have to have a sick note basically in order to miss it. And It's going to be thousands of dollars, and you know, it's going to basically run our lives, but she loves it. It's been her passion. So I mean, how am I going to say no? It could be her future, right?
Right.
And with baseball,
so several thousand. And with baseball, yeah, I'm interested in baseball because baseball's having kind of a moment right now because of the Blue Jays. More children are interested in baseball. I was reading that it's more affordable, but is it more affordable? Is that your experience?
Yes, ish.
Yes.
So we have experience. My husband is also a coach, and even when he is coaching our specific, like my son's team, we don't get a break on fees. There's no, you're the coach here, your son gets enrolled, here's your fees back. There's none of that. Right. With competitive, we've done that, and it doesn't, at least in our baseball association, it only costs another $90 to join the competitive team. It does $90 is for the tryouts, but the fees itself isn't that much. But when you add in the traveling all around the province for the tournaments and for games and stuff, and the costs, they add up. They're quite significant.
Oh yeah. That's one of the questions I would have these days. Like, let's say you're in Dartmouth, okay? Let's say you had to go to Antigonish or something for a tournament, for a baseball tournament. You need a night in a hotel. You need to put gas in the car. You need to eat. Like, how much does that cost?
I mean, that's just it. Like, and there's no relief for that. Like, those hidden costs when you sign up, and it's like our baseball fees are about, I don't know, I'd say $300 per year just for the registration fee. And then you're like, okay, that's great. But then, yeah, going to the baseball diamond 3 days a week, plus travel, plus meals, because baseball also happens at 6 p.m. So you're going right from work to baseball. You're eating on the road just for practices for the most part. I mean, all those,
so it's thousands.
All those costs add up. And I mean, there's ways to do it. Like, you could pack lunches, you could do all that, but there's only so many times you can eat a sandwich.
True enough. Thank you for your call. It's very insightful, Cody. Let's go to St. Margaret's Bay in Nova Scotia. Steve is there. Hello, Steve.
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
Very good, Steve. Thank you. What's your experience here?
So I've got two boys. One's 13, one's 15. The youngest plays hockey and lacrosse, and I've noticed you haven't talked about lacrosse and how it's gaining popularity in Canada. It's an amazing sport.
All right.
But yes, it does cost money, especially hockey, organized hockey. Lacrosse is a lot cheaper, but it can add up. But one thing that I'd like to point out, it's not just about the kids. I mean, when I retired from the military in 2016, I didn't have a whole lot to do. And having my son get involved in sports was actually a gift for me as well. You know, being able to manage his hockey team and I got involved with, you know, his team and managing the teams, and I did it for several years. And then when he got into lacrosse, I got involved with the Lacrosse Association. So you get to know more parents and make new friends. And it was good for my son.
Oh, okay.
It was good for me. And I'll just, you know, I can't tell you enough. Like, having a kid in sport is an awesome thing. But there are alternatives. I know sports are getting expensive, but something that doesn't get a lot of advertising is the cadet program in Canada, which will, you know.
Oh yeah, the cadet program could do a better. Well, the cadets, you know, I was in the Air Cadets at one point. I've mentioned that before. They need to do a better job at doing their own promotion. I mean, there are a lot of good things that come out of the Air Cadets and Sea Cadets, but when was the last time you saw an ad for them? When was the last time you even saw a flyer?
Well,
when do you ever see them anywhere?
Yeah.
Like, they have to promote themselves. I agree with you there.
Well, I find it really interesting. You know, you hear about the current government wanting to spend more money on defense, but again, like you say, that a lot of that money doesn't seem to be trickling down into the cadet program. But in any case, sports is a good thing. I highly recommend it for any parent. You know.
Now, you mentioned just one quick thing. They're trying to shut us up here, but you mentioned lacrosse is growing in popularity. It's less expensive than hockey, but do you think that might have something to do with it, that it's less expensive? Does that have anything to do with it, or is it just a fun sport to play and that's why more people are playing?
No, man, if you get an opportunity to go watch lacrosse, I would recommend it. A lot of the hockey kids are playing lacrosse, you know, so they finish up hockey and then they roll into lacrosse.
I see. All right, interesting. Thank you. Be right back on Talkback News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Let's go right to Chris in Calgary on children and organized sports. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how you doing, Rob?
Yeah, very good. How are you, Chris?
Freezing. So I keep hearing you guys talk about our nice weather a couple weeks ago, but it's chilly, but not bad.
I gather that.
Yes. So I just wanted to get on the conversation. So when it comes to kids playing sports, I have 3 kids, 2 step kids, 14 and 11, and my 6-year-old. Now, for me, myself, I have been coaching for 25 years, numerous sports. I actually started coaching 5-pin bowling of all things and still doing it to this day. When I met my wife 9 years ago, her son was never in sports, and we started putting him in sports. He started basketball, soccer, now doing baseball. Now, I made a decision 2 years ago on if I was going to put the kids in sports or I quit playing hockey. For me, playing hockey was almost $800 a season. So I stopped playing hockey to focus on the kids. Because to me, I don't care what the price is. I understand people have trouble, but I don't care what the price is. It's the joy that my kids get out of it. And to be honest, I've seen my kids actually get more friends out of playing sports than they do in school. And the payoff for me is I've coached everything my stepson's ever done, and he enjoys it. And a couple of years ago, he played basketball his first season. And we go to the first game practice to find out they don't have enough coaches. So they need volunteers. Well, I knew that's where this was going. You know, my son's like, Chris, can you coach? Sure. Don't know a thing about basketball. So I'm a rookie coach. That season it's actually one of the best seasons I've ever had as a coach myself. I get a lot out of it, maybe more so than the kids. For the simple fact is, I found out half the kids on my team, we were a bottom feeder team. So all the better coaches were all coaching the better teams. I'm not a fan of that, how that goes. So with these kids, a lot of them had never had a coach or even been in organized sports to begin with. By the end of the season, parents were coming up to me saying, these kids, they adored me, and they thought I was the best coach that they ever had, and they learned so much, and they grew, which is my payoff is when I see a kid grow. I always tell kids, I can be a hard coach, but I can also, I'm fair, right? But, I mean, I love getting what I get out of it with my kids, and I love what they get out of it. So, I mean, price-wise, it's well worth it when I see it.
Very good. Very good. All the sacrifice on your behalf. Well done, sir. Thank you for your call. That's it for hour number 1. If you're on the line, just hang on the line. We'll get to you right after. Very busy day in news, bring you right up to date. Back into our conversation on Talkback today on News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Our topic today, welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. Our topic today, children in organized sports. What are today's pressures? Lots of phone lines available. And I'd really love to know your experiences with having children play organized sports and some of the challenges of having children play organized sports, some of the pressures, the time commitments, the costs. How much have those costs increased over the years? Cost of living. Is organized sports a cost of living issue? How do you make it work? What do you get out of it? Are we reaching a point where you have to be well off to take part in organized sports? 1 out of 3 families can't afford to put their children in organized sports. Think about what the country's missing out on there. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. 4 or 5 lines available there. The wait won't be too long, and we'd love to know your experience. Please take part in the conversation. It's why we do Talkback. Let's go to Donna, is in Halifax today. Hi, Donna. Are you with me, Donna? Have you left me, Donna? Donna has left me. That's disappointing. Okay. Again, now every single phone line is available. I mean, what does it cost these days? I'm looking for real-life examples of what it is actually costing these days to have a child in organized sports. You know, if your child's playing organized hockey. Yeah. As I said to one of the callers, you have to go out of town for a tournament, or maybe it involves a day or two. You know, you're staying in a hotel or a motel. Maybe it's a Friday night or a Saturday night or something. Like, what does that cost by the time you add it all up? By the time you add up, you know, whatever fees there are, gas in the vehicle, you know, 1 night in a hotel, 2 nights in a hotel, meals for you, meals for maybe your spouse, maybe your child. What does it all cost? How many times do you end up doing that in the run of a year? Is that a once a year thing? Is it every couple of weeks? Is it a once a week thing? Gosh, it can't take long to add up. 1-833-668-2577. Let's try John, is in Calgary. Hi, John.
How's it going today, Rob?
Yeah, very good, John. Thank you for your call. What's your experience here?
So I have 3 kids. I have a 26-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And to my wife and I, sports are extremely important. We go by the edge that sports will teach our kids something that we can't teach them. How to be part of a team, how to learn from others, all the important things. And our kids have played like every sport there is. Our 26-year-old.
Oh, really?
And our 26-year-old, we're a big football family, a massive football family, and he went all the way. He's now a professional football player. He got his university paid for through football.
Wow.
He did everything through there. It has paid for his life, and it's made him like very successful at what he does. And he's learned a lot of things that he's now attributing to other parts of his life. My 12-year-old, he's going through the same program. Unfortunately, he's in the shadow of his older brother, so that happens. And then my 7-year-old, so for football, there's lots of programs for people that don't have the resources to play football.
Okay, tell me about that.
In Calgary, there's like Jumpstart. There's a bunch. Each of the organizations will help fund kids as well. And you're doing like not a lot of payments compared to some other sports. Football is extremely like low cost to get into, like soccer as well and basketball.
Is it really? I thought, you know, I just have the impression, if I could, that football would be expensive. A lot of equipment to buy with football. You know, so,
most of the teams own the equipment.
Okay.
You can purchase your own equipment. If you do so, you have to buy the equipment that is registered. You have to buy the right equipment. But all the equipment is provided by the teams. All the jerseys, all the stuff. Some pads you have to buy yourself, but it is a minimal input. And if you don't have the resources for it, you go and talk to the team. The team they do fundraisers. They have resources for people that do not have the ability to fully pay for it. And like it is a family, so people take care of each other. And like I've driven, like my wife and I have like 7 seats in my car because we're constantly driving kids everywhere. And like some of the kids, they've gone into NFL. It's 2 of my son's older friends. They're both in the NFL now. And I remember driving both of them to the football fields, like because they needed a ride, and it's just the way it is. But people don't know about the programs. That's the problem. They're not like massively advertised. But if you go to like, there's like Hilltoppers, there's the Cowboys, there's the Mavericks in Calgary. If you go to those organizations and you ask about resources, there's a lot of resources available.
Very cool. So your son, the 26-year-old, did he go to school in the States?
No, he stayed here in Calgary. He stayed his whole. He had got offers in the States, but he didn't want to go down there.
Okay.
He got full offers.
He's playing.
He's playing in the CFL right now.
He's playing in the CFL. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We get to go and watch him, and so we've seen like the chances of making it all the way are extremely small, and like parents get like way too crazy about it. Like we've been doing this for years, like what, 15 years now. So like we go to football games now with our 12-year-old, and he's playing, and parents just kind of a little insane. And just like, man, just let them play, let them enjoy the game, let them love the game, and don't put the pressure on them, because the chances of any of these kids ever making it past like these is like I think it's like 1% or something. So just let kids have fun, let them explore.
And your daughter, you have a 7-year-old daughter, did you say?
Yeah, and she does flag football and cheerleading. Flag football is it's coming up. There's lots of opportunities for flag football in Calgary. That being said, cheerleading, that is expensive. That's crazy expensive.
Oh, really? Cheerleading. Okay. Yeah. All right. Interesting.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well, look. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye-bye. Sounds like it was worth it. 1-833-668-2577 on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Enrolling children in organized sports, what are the pressures today? Cost pressures, time commitments. What makes it worth it? Lee is in Calgary. Hello, Lee.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Lee. How are you today?
A little cold, but you know.
A little cold. Sorry to hear that.
No, I have two boys. My oldest went through football with both the community and high school, and he played rugby. And my youngest is football, rugby, soccer. So I've been through the gamut. I'm coming to the end, and I'm going to truly miss it. But beyond the expense, I think the lessons and the experiences that my boys have gotten from organized sports has been, you can't put a price on it. Those are lessons that they've been able to take throughout their entire lives. So no matter.
So what do you think they got out of it? What did they get out of it?
They learned how to be a part of a team. They learned how to be a leader. They learned that, okay, this is my position. This is my job. This is what I have to do. Instead of, I got to be all over the place and I got to do everything great. Like, I just have to do this one thing and I do it well. And my entire team is going to succeed. And they've taken that into not only school, but my oldest has taken that into his career as well. So regardless of how much time I had to give up for myself, I mean, I have no life right now. Football season in Calgary, community ball has started. So I have meetings and I have practices. So, but I would never, ever change a thing. I would do it all over again just to see how much they've grown and how much they've learned.
There have been, scattered news stories over the last few months about, because, the rising cost of living pressures, and certainly the world of sports, organized sports has not been immune from that. I'm wondering if you've seen that rise in fees or, equipment costs, rental costs, anything like that.
With my oldest is a little bit harder. I wasn't in the position that I'm in now. So, yeah, I felt it. Right. But like your previous caller mentioned, there are programs. There's kids sports. And as teams, we do fundraising for new equipment to supplement fees. In high school, there's not a lot you can do about it. The fee is the fee. You pay it. They do have fundraising for equipment. But Now, thankfully, I've been blessed and I'm in a better situation, so I don't feel it as much, but I have seen a slight increase, not so much in community, but more in the high school football. The fees did go up this year for that.
Okay, but for you, it's worth every penny. You'd do it no matter the cost. You'd somehow make it work. Is that what you're saying?
Every single penny, every minute of my time that I've coached, I've volunteered, I've been the stick person on the field. You know, I wouldn't change a thing. Just to see how much they've grown.
Gotcha. All right, Lee, thank you for your call. George is up next, also in Calgary today, where football seems to be a popular sport. Yeah, hi, George.
Yeah, your question is a good one. The cost of sports. I consider it a rich man's sport, but I've got a grandson in AA hockey in rural Alberta. Before his skates hit the ice, $11,000 has to be paid. And this is to provide a busing right off the hop. And that doesn't cover much. That just gets him to play, busing. They do bus these guys to some out-of-town things, and I understand the busing's not cheap and liability and all that. If it's a tournament, which my grandson is on his way to Jasper for a tournament, they got to put them in hotels, they feed them, they got to entertain them in those 3 days between games, and that's not even you haven't even made it to win or lose. It's a very sad thing. Look at the price of a hockey stick now. I'm paying $450 for a stick. $450.
Holy smokes!
That's nothing fancy.
And think about that. The next time the defenseman lines up and he takes a slap shot and the stick breaks in half, there's $450 gone.
Yeah, you can imagine what these NHL teams are playing with these guys busting sticks. You just cringe to think, but they got the money.
Yeah. Right.
It's just incredible, the cost. He's my grandson, of course, I'm a grandparent, and thank God for the other grandparents, because the parents couldn't afford it. So the four of us went in on it and split it 50-50. So that brings the cost down. But even then, on these tournaments that he goes to, I cannot afford to go, such as Medicine Hat, Jasper, Edmonton, Red Deer. I can't afford to drive there. With the cost.
That's incredible.
It's crazy. It's a rich man's sport.
But like 11,000, so 11,000 right out of the gate, and you split that, 11,000 out of the gate. I mean, by the time all is said and done, like a season of hockey, would it be like 20 grand? Would it be outrageous to say it would probably 20 grand?
Well, it depends on how many hockey sticks he breaks. There's guys out there that play this game, and if you're in the corner with them, they'll step on your stick to break it and laugh at you because they know what you paid for the stick. And it's just crazy. And I see a lot of these vehicles pulling up in front of the arenas. Obviously, the parents are doing quite well. And I know growing up that I've incredible talent on skates, but the parents aren't rich. And here goes a perfectly good athlete to Canada's #1 sport, hockey. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's really insightful. Very eye-opening. AA hockey, 11,000 before he hits the ice. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, Chris is up next. On Talkback, we're talking about enrolling children in organized sports today, the cost, the pressures, the time commitment, what you get out of it, what your children get out of it. Chris. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Rob. Very long-time listener, first-time caller.
I appreciate it, Chris. What's your opinion?
My number one opinion about kids' sports is teaches them, leadership, teamwork, and the number one, it gets them off of their electronics, gets them up and moving, gets them, health. It's number one. It's for their health.
Yeah, that's such a good point that you raised. Getting them off the couch, getting them off of those screens, getting them out, getting them active. My mom used to say the idle hands do the devil's work, Chris. Idle hands do the devil's work, for sure. Now, do you have children involved in sports, or have you had children involved in sports?
I have two boys, and they've been on baseball teams. They are doing, kickboxing. I try to enroll them in as many things as possible. I know it's costly. I know nothing is free in this world, but getting them up and moving and motivated to, do stuff is paramount. It's super important.
Yeah. Now, when you say costly, what are you seeing there? Like, what kind of costs? I mean, how costly?
Well, like a kickboxing class twice a week. It's gonna cost you like $150 a month. Being enrolled in a baseball team. Just something basic, nothing even competitive. Costs another $200-300, and then the baseball bat, the baseball mitt, stuff costs, but the health benefit and not sitting on the goddamn couch is priceless.
Yeah. All right. What do you get out of it? Just knowing that your kids are having fun,
seeing
being
them
healthy,
having fun,
being active,
being healthy, being active, and seeing them excel at different things. And they come home and they are tired, and then they go to sleep, and they don't want to sit on those damn electronics.
Yeah, sure thing. Do you ever worry that it's becoming too expensive, that it's pricing people out? Is that something you've ever given thought to? There's some people that just can't afford it. It's like, it's like 1 in 3 families.
100%. I feel it, and we do what we can with my wife to whatever you can do. It's for the kids' future. It's for number one it's health.
All right. Good stuff, Chris. Thank you for your call. Mike, hang on the line. Get to you in just a few minutes, and love to hear from you today on Talkback. Children and organized sports, the pressures associated with that these days, costs, time, what you get out of it. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
We've been talking about kids and organized sports today. What are the pressures around that? Time pressures, the commitment, the cost, what you get out of it. Do you have to be well off to do it these days? I was writing down some of these costs earlier. I'll just, remind you of them. Competitive hockey, $5,000 to $10,000. Competitive hockey. We had a caller, I believe it was George, who said it was $11,000 AA hockey in Alberta. $11,000 before he hits the ice. $11,000. I got house league hockey, $800 to $1,000 a year. Soccer, $1,200 to $3,000 a year. Gymnastics, dance, figure skating, $2,000 to $5,000. Competitive swimming. We had someone call in earlier. Son went all the way to the Olympic trials for Canada in 2012. Missed by 0.5 of a second. I believe she said $5,000 a year. And worth every penny, she said. Things like registration fees, equipment, travel, training, coaching, time off work. Baseball said to be more affordable. Football, callers are saying lots of help available if children want to play football. What are your experiences, everyone? They have 4 or 5 phone lines available and lots of time to fit you in. I've been thoroughly enjoying the conversation today, I must say. A lot of committed parents out there. Mike is up next in Calgary. Thanks for calling, Mike. You're on the air.
Hey, Mr. Snow. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just Rob is fine. My father's
Okay,
Mr.
Rob,
Snow.
Long-time listener, first-time caller, and honestly, you touched on a huge subject. I got 6 kids, and 3 of them are in competitive sports. My son He's 14. He's 6'4", size 14 shoe, plays basketball. Expensive. My two girls, they're in competitive cheer. They're currently in Montreal for Team Canada, practices. And like all this stuff costs a lot of money. And the problem is for me is that everything else is going up except for the pay. So it's hard to, right? So, with travel expenses and like competitive cheer can be anywhere between $7,000 and $12,000 depending on where you're going.
$7,000 to $12,000. You know, you're the second person who's called. We had a caller earlier, big football guy. Son plays in the CFL now. Said he has someone who is in cheer and is very expensive. And you're saying it's $7,000 to $12,000.
It is
$7,000 to $12,000. Wow.
Yeah, and only because like with the cheer fees, going like traveling to various cities, doing competitions, just spending money on hotels and stuff like that. And in the cheer world, is the Super Bowl of cheer, and of course that takes place in Orlando. And so you're not only paying a high amount, but you're also paying in U.S. dollars. So, and then you got to stay on the resort because it's a stay in place. So everything is that much more expensive. And then food, airfare, hotel, car rental, like it gets pricey.
Right, and you've got 6 kids.
And I got 6 kids now. Three of them are in competitive sports. The other 3 are younger, so they're kind of just playing sports. But
right,
14 shoes. So even then, I can't even get a shoe here in Canada because it's hard to get that size. So guess what? I got to either order.
Right. And how much are like a size 14 for a competitive basketball player? Like how much is a sneaker then? How much are you paying for a pair of shoes?
I mean, it ranges. Like if I were to buy a shoe here in Canada, it costs anywhere between $150 to $300 for a pair of shoes.
Okay.
Now, you're not
all right. Well,
one pair of shoes. You're going to get a couple pair of shoes.
Sure. But
right.
$150 to $300. Not totally outrageous, I guess, for sneakers these days. I mean, right? Okay, I thought it'd be more than that.
You're paying for uniform. You're paying travel fees, right? Like he plays on certain circuits where they travel into the States all the time. So now you're paying U.S. dollars. Everything is USD. Yeah. So and again, the money's the same, but like everything's gone up. Paying for referees and gym time and ever since COVID when they shut down the schools, now private facilities have been opening up, which is great, but everything's just that much more expensive.
So Mike, how do you manage that? How do you manage it?
Me personally, I have multiple jobs. My wife has a couple jobs, and we try to pay as much as we can with what we got. Right? We're not millionaires by any means. We're not. But we try and make it work. And I played sports when I was growing up, and I believe it's good for the kids. Like keep them out of trouble. They're part of a team. They get to travel and see the world. Right? The goal is for my son. He wants to play professional sports, so this is the way to do it. You got to pay to play, unfortunately.
Pay to play. All right. Look, you're very dedicated, and it sounds like you're doing everything you can to give your children the best in life. So you're to be commended for that, sir. Thank you so much. Great to hear from you. All the best. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. The pressures of having children in competitive sports, organized sports. Share your experiences, please. Let us know what that's like. This is Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Let's get to Avi in Calgary today on enrolling children in organized sports. Hi, Avi. What's your experience?
Hi, Rob. Well, I don't have a personal experience, but I did work with somebody who I've seen spend thousands of dollars. She had two kids, one son, one daughter, and in baseball. So, and like she would go to tournaments to different cities, and it could cost anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, everything included: driving, accommodation, food, and the fees, registration fees. The equipment is it can get pretty expensive. So the numbers that you have is, it's quite accurate. But I've been listening to your callers, and I see there's this is like a two-part question. Yes, the first one is, it's costing me $10,000. Is it worth it? Yes, it is. I'll do anything for my kids if it's in my hands. I'll pick up an extra shift every week or find a part-time job that gives me, $7,000 to $10,000 if I can. I'll do it. There's nothing, no questions, nothing on it. But the actual question, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, which you're trying to ask is, should it be this expensive? It should not be. We're talking about kids' sports. This is not a corporate, this shouldn't be like the other gentleman who said a hockey stick, $450. You can't tell me it takes these companies it doesn't take these companies $450 to make a stick. I'm pretty sure all these sticks are made in somewhere in Asia. It's dirt cheap. If not dirt cheap, still cheap. The markup on these things is it should be. I want to use the word criminal. Like, you're talking about kids' sports. This is not like a luxury Apple iPhones that you have to put markup this much. We're talking about basic sports, like for a 10-year-old, for a 15-year-old. And then you say, the new generation is into electronics. They're always on TikToks and all that. What are these governments doing it for them? Nothing. A parent has to go out of the way just to put a kid in sports. You gotta be kidding me, man. This is just like our politicians.
Yeah, we've heard the level of commitment, and we've heard it from our callers today. I'd pay anything.
I give it to them.
And I work two jobs. Work around the clock. This is why I fear is it becoming more and more the domain of the affluent. When we read, for example, a recent survey said a third of Canadian children 3 to 17 can't play organized sports because it costs too much. Well, that's millions and millions of children. So what are those children doing?
Exactly. Right? What are they doing? They're either on their phones or either once they are at that age.
On their phones, getting into trouble.
Yeah, once they're past that age. Once they're in teenage, they're probably getting into trouble because they're not doing anything because the parents can't afford it. And I give it to the parents. Like, I'm a parent, but my son he's only 2. But I give it to numerous parents have said they go out of their way, which, hats off to them. And then every parent does it. No parent wants anything less for their kids. But the real question should be to these politicians, to our governments. Like, why do you have to see, profit in every damn thing in the world? It should not be.
Thank you. Gotcha. Thank you, Avi. Yeah, very passionate opinion today. I just think a third of Canadian children aged 3 to 17 not playing sports because it costs too much. Families can't afford it. To me, that's a really sad state of affairs because I think of what these children are missing out on if they're not playing sports and not making friends the way you can make friends if you're on a sports team or in a league, not being as physically active, not learning about teamwork, all the great things that we've heard from the parents today. There's so much that can come from being involved in sports. Not that you have to excel at sports, but just being involved. And I just think about all the talent that might be out there, talent that might, never go to the Olympics, never make the pros, never get a scholarship to a university simply because of the cost. That's kind of one of the things I was wanting to explore with your help today. Ben is in Calgary. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Rob. Big fan of the show. Yeah. Thanks for taking my call today.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling. What's your experience, Ben?
Well, a bit of a passionate subject for me too, in the sense, growing up, my parents worked full time, 3 kids, and pushed to get us those opportunities, but had to work part-time job in high school myself to play on the basketball team. And, although my parents provided everything I needed, any of that extracurricular would take a little more than me just saying, hey, Mom and Dad, I want to play here and fly here and go to this tournament and that tournament. So there's a little bit of that when the kids get older. But as far as the young kids, and now I've got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, we're looking at stuff that's affordable in Calgary here, in the sense of soccer and swimming and some of those early entry things with the city is very affordable. But it is high demand. So now you're getting up 6 a.m. waiting to get in queue and trying to get it as if you're getting tickets to the Beatles, right? So it's a bit tricky in that sense. I think
you're right there.
There's a bit of supply-demand issue, but then there is also just, from what I hear with your previous callers, a bit of blatant gouging in some of the sports.
Yeah, sounds like it. And, that Hunger Games to get children enrolled in whatever it happens to be at the municipal level, a swim class or whatever the case might be. I mean, you're right. It can be, it's like trying to get Taylor Swift tickets or something like that. And that's not just a Calgary thing. Like that happens in cities all across the country. Right. Yeah. Yeah. As soon as the portal opens, gosh, if you're not there and clicking, I want to enroll in this class, you might be out of luck. Could be out of luck. The demand is so great. You're right. It's such a great point, Ben. Thank you. More of your calls coming up on Talkback today. Children in organized sports, the costs, the pressures, the payoff. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Dave in High River is up next. Hi, Dave.
Yeah, hi, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Dave. My pleasure, Dave.
So,
what's your experience?
I haven't. Well, I'm in my late 50s. My girls are in their 30s now, but figure skated. And it started with can skate and moved into competitive skating. And, it was pricey. Their skates, you're looking at it, $800 a shot, and sometimes twice a year, depending on how their feet grew. And then the dresses. Every competition, they're going somewhere. You got to have a different dress. You can't have the same dress. Hotels, depending on where the competitions were at, it got quite pricey. The older they got, it easily hit $10,000.
Oh my gosh! Wow. That's incredible.
What
made it worth it though?
Out, but,
okay.
It was absolutely worth it. Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It means working a little harder, but whatever. I mean, it was great when you see it brings you down a bit if the kid's upset with her performance, but it's amazing how confident they get the more they push themselves and can do better jumps and do more. And as time went on, they got into high school. Both of them decided to leave competitive skating and get into the high school rodeo, which I would have thought would have been cheaper, but not rodeo. But I'll tell you, that high school rodeo isn't cheap because, again, all these rodeos are somewhere in the province, and you're traveling to these things.
You're traveling a lot.
You're traveling a lot. You got horses to feed. You've got horses to buy. You've got to, and one of my daughters, she actually tried out to do the queening event, I guess, to become high school rodeo queen, and was successful enough. I guess she became the rodeo princess, which meant that she had to travel to Fallon, Nevada to do some queening events down there. So again, not cheap. These kids have to, they enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it for them. That they it made them better people. And as adults, they're doing the same thing with their kids. They're getting into hockey. I know that's not going to be cheap for them, but that's the avenue the boys are heading.
Rodeo. Okay. You're the first caller who mentioned that today. That's really interesting. Thank you so much. I think we can fit in one more very quickly. Kaylee, we only have about a minute left, Kaylee. So share your experience, Kaylee.
Hi, Rob. Yeah. So, I'm a 22-year-old gal, and I lived in a small town all my life, and I played sports, volleyball, basketball, rugby, and my siblings as well. My sister played rugby. My brother played hockey. And I would say my family was definitely middle class. And it's challenging. I started working at 15 years old to afford all the sports that I wanted to do because I wanted to play them. And I was funding a lot of that. And living in a small town, the community really comes together and helps out a lot. But I don't know if that should fully be their responsibility. I feel like I wouldn't have been able to play all the sports that I did if there wasn't the fundraising opportunities for the teams that I was on and such. My brother played hockey.
I understand.
That cost so much money.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. We'll have to wrap it up there. I would just say, public opinion research shows the vast majority of Canadians see playing sports is part of the Canadian identity. It's part of our culture. We are a sporting nation. So, when children are not taking part in sports, they're losing out on what it means really to fully be Canadian. We are a sporting nation. It's important.